We're on the final stretch. There's about 18 more verses to cover, and I get the sense that there's a sort of summing up going on in these last handfuls of verses, almost like a summary of this summary, because with the Gatikam itself is supposed to be some kind of summary. So verse 867, he who reflects rationally on this truth will attain serenity of mind, accomplish the most excellent discipline, and be above imagination. He will be released from attachment and realize the highest meaning, and thus he will light up the golden path of the Dharma. So it's a rather lovely verse, isn't it? He who reflects rationally on this truth, he or she who reflects rationally. This is interesting, isn't it? It's a rational thing. What we're involved here in is a rational thing. I described it as empirical. It was back in verse 354, which was entitled Empirical Buddhism. Buddhism, or at least spiritual practice, is about clarity. It's about clarity of insight. There isn't anything that you have to believe. There isn't anything that you have to take on board. It's about seeing with clarity. And that's what video 354 was about. I didn't cover any particular verse in that video. I just said, well, let's see what we can see. And I followed that rational line of inquiry to its limit, to its end. Now I'm reminded of another philosopher, Rene Descartes, French philosopher. He wrote a little book that I had to study as an undergraduate many years ago, called Meditations. And I liked how this book started. Descartes, the philosopher, he shut himself up in what was translated as a stove. Never mind that. But obviously what Descartes was going for was some kind of sensory deprivation. He wanted to shut himself away and see what he could know firsthand. He writes about what he discovered. But really what happens is he gets into thinking, and then with thinking comes notions of God and an external world, and it was very unconvincing. He seems to be establishing firsthand notions of God and an external world. Maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but I remember thinking, well, this isn't very convincing. And he'd missed a trick. He'd got caught up in thinking. He hadn't gone beyond thinking. He hadn't looked beyond thinking to what it was that was thinking. And this is what we do as enlightenment practitioners. We continue the rational approach. Descartes essentially became irrational very quickly, in spite of many of his great achievements. He's actually seen as one of the founding fathers of rational thought, but he wasn't rational in this meditative inquiry, because he got caught up in thinking rather than look beyond to what was actually doing the thinking, rather than looking beyond his mind to that serenity which is above the imagination. Because it's not the imagination, it's ideas, thoughts, musings, problem solving. We go beyond this to equanimity, which does take discipline, because we don't like to let go of the mind. And this is where Descartes was up against it. He was a philosopher, and philosophers, they hit a brick wall when it comes to this, when it comes to going beyond the mind. Even if they know about the prospect or the possibility of going beyond the mind, they cannot go there, because they have to let go of their identity as philosophers. And this is what most of us are in our own way. We're all philosophers in our own way, and we don't want to go beyond our mind. We don't want to go beyond our sensibilities. We don't want to go beyond our moods, even if they're horrible moods, because that is who we are. And who we are is very important, especially in Western culture. But if we can, then we'll be released from attachment. We'll be released from attachment to who we are and realize the highest meaning. And thus he will light up the golden path of the Dharma. What a wonderful image this is. Because it is a golden path. It's very beautiful. I've been thinking about, because we're in the last few verses here, I've been wondering what to do next. I'm probably preempting myself here. That in exploring these texts, the few but very substantial texts that I've explored in this channel, for me it's like opening up a treasure chest, blowing off all the dust and opening up this treasure chest, this incredible richness, and I'm saying, take a look at all of this. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? So I hope that the golden path of the Dharma has been evident in this channel, in some of these videos. I'm just pointing it out. I'm saying, look at these verses, look at these treasures. They're very ancient, covered in dust. But let's just blow the dust off and look. And when we look, this treasure is actually the light that emanates from the center of our being. And in spite of all these videos, in spite of all the effort I've put in, it's a light that I often still miss myself. I suspect I'm not accomplishing the most excellent discipline as much as I could. But we keep at it, we keep at it, and we'll keep at it right into the next video.